Welcome back to Straight Facts, Wednesday afternoon, joined by the man himself, Big Steve. How are you, my friend?
Super, mate. Thank you.
Good. Lots to delve into today. Stories at City with Kovacic signing, Gundogan reportedly leaving and on his way to Barca. Of course, Arsenal's £65 million deal for Kai Havertz. Be getting Big Steve's opinions on that deal. Declan Rice expected next for Arsenal fans with an improved offer of over £100 million. Mason Mount to Man United, the second bid rejected. A new one of 60 million expected on that as well. Viewers, hit the like button right now. Make sure you're subscribing and got the bell notifications turned on. But I did want to start with your team, Steve, if that's okay, because obviously today, the big news, you got the here we go on Kovacic making his way from Chelsea to Man City. What's your thoughts around that signing, him as a player, and where you think he's going to fit in at the club?
He's a good player, and it doesn't look like it's a lot of money. So I was a bit surprised by that. I think he's gone a bit stale at Chelsea. His injury record's not been the best there. Pep Guardiola must see something in him, or something he can change in his play to suit Manchester City Football Club. I was reading something about one of the coaches is supposed to have said he likes the way Kovacic can react under pressure in tight spaces. He can get himself out of situations and break. So that makes sense. We've had a big problem this season with Rodri being so good that I don't think Calvin Phillips' backup has worked. There's been games where Rodri needed a rest and we couldn't rest him. So whether he's going to come in and fight for that place, whether Pep's going to change tactics in certain games, maybe play two of them, I don't know. But for that kind of money, the way the world is at the minute and the way the fees are, he's a great player for that level of money. And I just think, Pep Guardiola's got a knack of getting an extra 10 or 15% out of certain players. They seem to come Man City and they seem to kick on a bit. And I think with him, it might just be that fresh break he needs from Chelsea. It's gone a bit stale there for him. Come to Man City, Premier League champions, European Cup winners. I'm hoping he kicks on, especially with it. I think we're going to lose a few players this summer. And I think the biggest problem we're going to have to find is trying to motivate a lot of players, because yourself, when you've achieved that treble, I think there's a lot of players that could drop off a touch. It's natural, you know what I mean? You think you've done it all. And I think with Pep, I think he'll freshen it up and he'll bring a bit of competition in and he'll bring some fresh energy in the squad and try and keep it motivated again and go again.
Yeah, listen, you can't. I suppose fans have got all entitled, rivals and City fans alike, to question anything they want. But Pep's record is so good. He's one of the greatest managers of all time. He clearly sees something in Kovacic. I've read a lot, as we were saying backstage, that this is more of a Calvin Phillips replacement than it is Ilkay Gundogan, and which we'll move on to in a minute. So, yeah, I'm intrigued to see where he fits in, how he works. But I believe in your system, in the best run club in the country with the best manager in the world. It's still £30 million in 2023. You're right, isn't a lot of money. It's a lot of money to people like you and I, but this is football. This is, you're looking at what Rice is going for, the quality prices for Caicedo's. This man's only 29 as well. He's not a 33, 34, 35-year-old. Man United, Casemiro, 50 million we paid last year. So, yeah, good value for money. Then it looks like you're going to move on to his countryman as well in Guardiola, really talented centre-back from RB Leipzig. And as you say, there's going to be a few players leaving. Laporte's probably going to be the individual that moves out. But already, though, you win a treble and straight away you're re-strengthening and rejuvenating your team with new faces.
Yeah, the Guardiola signings, he's decent, to be fair. I've seen him twice this season against City. He didn't look great, but obviously we tore him apart. Left-sided centre-back, left back as well. The way we're playing at the minute with a four across the back, the four centre-backs, it just works. I think if Laporte leaves and Guardiola comes in, we've got some great options at the back with Stones, Akanji, Diaz. We've got we'll have Guardiola and Ake. So that's a great signing. And the Calvin Phillips situation is a bit mad because I spoke to him at the players' party on the Monday after the game, and I said I just had a talk with him, just an open and honest talk, and said, look, sometimes it comes across that you don't believe you should be here. I said, you've just won a treble. You've not played as much football as you should have, but you've got to be confident in your own ability in his team. I've seen Rodri have a poor season before. I've seen David Silva have a poor season before. And he was like, his attitude was like, yeah, I agree. I'm coming back this season early. I'm going to get behind it. I'm going to force my way in the squad. So the energy I was getting from Calvin was that he won't leave him.
Yeah, I mean, he may not want to. I don't see why Calvin Phillips would want to leave, being where he is. Pep Guardiola could put a spanner in that works, as we know he has done before, and be really, really ruthless. So it's very intriguing to know what City are going to do. In terms of exits, there are stories today, some from abroad in Spain, some in the UK, that İlkay Gundogan has committed to a 2-year deal at Barca. If he leaves, how much of a blow is that to the team? But just emotionally as a fan, to see arguably your greatest ever captain leave the club this summer.
Yeah, listen, on the back of a treble season, the European Cup, you don't want to see your captain leave. But on the other hand, it's better to bow out having won all he's just won. And İlkay Gundogan owes Manchester City nothing. You know what I mean? He was our first signing. We took a gamble on him, £20 million. He was on crutches when he signed for us. He's come in. He's been brilliant for us. Never moaned, never whinged, got on with it. Leader on and off the pitch. And I think with İlkay, it's just a lifestyle change. I think he's leaving behind the Premier League, which he's won, the FA Cup, League Cup, European Cup now. I think he just wants to change the scenery. You know, he's often in Barcelona anyway, in pre-season breaks and in mid-season breaks. So he clearly likes the place. So I'm gutted, but we've seen this before. We've watched Yaya Toure leave. We've watched David Silva leave. We've watched, Vincent Kompany leave, Aguero leave, and we're all sad. But we always go out and we always buy somebody and strengthen, and we always go again. So Man City fans might be disappointed, but I think it'll turn out the right decision in the end.
Yeah, a lot of rivals are talking like, if Silva leaves, Laporte leaves, Gundogan leaves, that it gives the Arsenals, the Liverpools next season a better chance of taking the league title from you. Do you see there being a significant drop-off in the team with that ilk of player leaving? Or do you believe that the machine is too well oiled for that to happen?
Well, last season we lost Raheem Sterling, Zinchenko and Jesus. Arsenal started the season like never believed, and everybody said Pep's got it wrong. You've given away your best players. You've made yourself weaker, and we won the treble. So at the end of the day, Manchester City don't stand still. So on the outside looking in, when you see us getting rid of these players, you might think, oh, it's going to be a drop-off. But the players that come in are usually upgraded. You know what I mean? We upgraded Jesus for Haaland. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, look what happened. Do you know what I mean? So I think Man City won't stand still. I think people are expecting a drop-off and hoping for a drop-off after this season. And I think mentality-wise, it could be naturally in players' heads like, I'm the champion of Europe, I'm this. But I think if we lose 4 or 5 and bring in 4 or 5, that 4 or 5 that come in have got to freshen it up. They've got to get into the training, get into the mix, and get that mentality where the chairman spoke this week about it. We've got this winning mentality at this football club where we don't let it slip. We've got certain standards to this high, and every season we go again, something new, we go again, and I believe we'll be all right.
I think he will as well. I believe it's hopeful thinking from rivals to sit there and say they're just going to fall off. I actually think the best thing you can actually do is get rid of a few people, and in fact, get rid of a few people that you would look at as important members of the team. It sends a shockwave through the dressing room. The new players freshen things up. I read Gary Neville's book, Red, when he retired. I've read that nearly 10 years ago now. And he spoke about, we won the treble in 99, and then we went on to win 3 Premier Leagues on the bounce. He said, but actually what the club got wrong is over those 3 summers of doing the 3P and having won the treble, we didn't sign enough high-end, top-quality players. There wasn't enough of an overhaul. And he says, we won the league at a canter every year, but we just got a bit stale in Europe because the big European teams probably invested a little bit heavier. And he said, hindsight's obviously lucrative. Maybe in the summer of '99, there was a powerhouse signing from a big European club. Maybe we could have gone again in that next couple of year period and won the Champions League again. Obviously, it was a different format back then. English football wasn't as strong back then, but as a brand. But yeah, I think what Pep Guardiola is looking to do, you may not want to lose all of them, but at the same time, the standards will be high still. I just don't see you dropping off significantly next year. I don't want to see you do a four-peat, but at the same time, you can't bet against Man City at all. And I know you've seen a lot of banter, it's probably the mildest term for it, and hate online in the last week after winning the treble. You must be getting stick galore from people.
Do you know what? I'll be dead honest with you. When I came out the ground at Istanbul, the first 7 or 8 messages I got were from United fans I've grown up with that go Old Trafford week in, week out. They said, listen, well done, you've done it, no problem. The genuine football supporters, the ones that go week in, week out, the ones that know football and can respect it, that was one on the pitch, they ain't got a problem with it. It's the bedroom army, innit? The bedroom army and that Husam and all them boys, the ones that ain't got a clue. They're the ones that we've got more Instagram followers than you, so we're better than you. And listen, I'm not bothered. It's all playground stuff. I saw my team win a treble. You know what I mean? I saw us lift the European Cup, which I was told we'd never do. That's why that video, when I told them about the list, that's why it went viral, because it rattled them. It only rattled the bedroom boys, not the real lads. The real Man United supporters, they got respect. They know what it's about. But at the end of the day, you know, people saying, oh, he's arrogant and that. Well, what do you want me to be? I've just won a treble. You know what I mean? I've just won a European Cup after 25 years of you telling me I was never going to do it. Do you want me to come on here and be like, you know, let's talk about it? You know what I mean? What do they want me to do, Terry? You know what I mean? There's only 2 teams in the history of football that's won a treble in this country, and they're both Mancunian. So they need to go and concentrate on their own teams and why their teams are failing, instead of trying to justify why Manchester City have won the European Cup, because we've wiped the floor with everyone else's team in the Premier League, even when we weren't playing that good. So is what it is, mate.
Mate, I hear you, and I've steered clear of bantering you because I've never understood the concept really of there's passing jokes that you might put in, but consistently bantering a team who are better than you and bigger than you, it just doesn't. I still don't get why people think that banter hits a certain way. It just doesn't. You know, it's like Derek Chisora bantering Mike Tyson's boxing career. It don't make sense. It doesn't. No one. It doesn't hit for me. But there we go. Viewers, make sure you're hitting the like button. Make sure you're subscribing. Make sure the bell notification button has been hit. You must have seen the news today as well. Man United bid, I think it was £50 million in totality for Mason Mount. Chelsea have rejected it. Looks like Man United are going to go up to about 60 million for him. Do you think that's about maximum you should pay for a Mason Mount, or do you believe that's still a little bit over the odds in terms of valuation?
I don't get the valuations anymore. Like you say, everything's up and down. You know what I mean? You've got Fernandez at 130 odd. You got Caicedo, they wanting 100 million. You know, Kovacic is going for 25. Mount is somewhere around 50, 60. I think United will pay what they need to pay. If Ten Hag's identified him as a piece of the jigsaw, or he thinks he's going to make Man United better, then fair play, they'll go and get him. I don't know. I don't know. It could be another one where, you know, he goes to United and Ten Hag's philosophy or whatever just spurs him on. Kai Havertz going to Arsenal. You know, you wouldn't touch Kai Havertz with a barge pole if you had a brain, but you just never know what's going to happen there. He could go to Arsenal and just boom, that could be him. He could just be, you know, need that little bit of a freshness, a bit of a change, because there's definitely a player there with Havertz, but he's not done it for Chelsea at all. He's not looked that kind of player, but I don't know. It's weird at the minute. Chelsea, I mean, people slag Chelsea off for spending all that money, and we thought it would be difficult to offload in the summer. But the way Saudi Arabia is moving mad, it just looks like you can just say, look, yeah, and you need any shit, come and get it. And they're just coming in and hoovering it all up. So fair play.
They are. I mean, if Man United put this £60 million bid in, that's nearly £200 million that Chelsea have raised already for the sale of their individuals. And they've probably got another 5 or 6 to go, not to mention the wages that they have cleared. when I look at Mount, I'm in your train of sort of. You probably, as a City fan, wouldn't have been thinking 2-3 weeks ago. Do you know what we need to do to improve next year? Is go and buy Kovacic. That probably wasn't a thought that any City fan that you'd spend time with thought, but you trust your manager. I feel that way about Mason Mount. I think he's a good player. I think when he was on form for Chelsea for those first 2 seasons in their first team, I thought he was very good. He wouldn't have been someone though on my list of players to go out and buy. At the same time, I trust my manager. I think Erik ten Hag is a quality manager who has done a brilliant job with the squad that he has so far. And if he's backed properly for a few more summers, will create a very good team that can win the major trophies. So there is this part of me that's, if I take it away from my feelings, my emotions, my preferences, which you know as well as I do, mate. And you call them the bedroom boys, and I quite like that phrase. They don't view football through the lens of objectivity, what my manager might want, and think about things from outside the box. Everything's based on what I like, what I want, and if I don't like it, I'm not even gonna see your perspective, your point of view on this. So I'm not buzzing about this signing for Man United, but equally I trust my manager. But I do think 60 million is about as high as we should go. You start moving into the 70s and the 80s, and I just feel you're eating into the budget that's going to stop us from being able to buy other people. And we need a striker desperately. We need a new goalkeeper desperately. And we need another midfield player. And if we end up spending 20-30 million pounds over the odds for Mason Mount, we know how Glazonomics works at our football club. You can tell that by the urine that's all over the toilets, floors, and when it rains, everyone gets wet. That they don't, do you know what I mean? That there's money to spend, but there's never quite enough. Whatever goes on at Man United, there's never quite enough to complete the job. Our owners are like cowboy builders. Do you know what I mean? There's always, no matter how good the job is, there's always a problem somewhere. And yeah, I'm just a little bit worried. Cherry trying to spread the light. I don't know what that means. Spread the light. Don't get it. Shed the light, but not spread the light. Explain to me what you mean there. Justin says Terry waffling. Mate, I love that you think I'm waffling, brother. What am I waffling about? Like, be specific. At least challenge what I'm saying rather than just saying waffle. Do you know what I mean? I love this. Billion spent. But you know, £1 billion has been spent on different projects and managers. Therefore, you have to keep, if I hire a firm to build me a house and it's going to cost 250 grand and they get 200,000 pounds of the way in, and I change my mind and want a completely new look design, a new look house, it all needs to be knocked down again. The foundations may even need to be redone if the new house is a new shape, which means you then start the 200,000 pound process again. But if I do that 4 times, I'll end up spending 800 grand. And if on the 5th time I spend £1 billion, it's not that new builders firm's fault. It's cost £1 million to build that 200,000 pound house. It's my fault for continually fucking it up. Like, I maybe it's banter, and I'm missing it here. But Ten Hag hasn't spent £1 billion, so his squad needs it to play his football. But there we go. But yeah, I think that's the upper limit of it. There's also another story circulating about Man United today as well. I'd love to get your take on this. Has come from the ex-West Ham employee, Steve, who says that we suspect the rumor that Man United are entering the Declan Rice with a player plus cash deal to be true. West Ham would consider Maguire and McTominay in any deal. Maguire would need to take a pay cut. Moyes admires McTominay. Do you think Man United could get involved in the Declan Rice deal? Do you think they could get in there and try and damage that deal for Arsenal? Or do you think it's too far down the line now? Arsenal are in a better situation. Like, how do you see that one panning out?
No, listen, United could definitely get involved. If they want him, they can definitely get involved. And like you say, they have got a few players they could offer him make-weight deals. I seen Sam Allardyce on that podcast say that Rice was going to City and that Calvin Phillips was going the other way. And he seemed like he knew. But, the City end's been a bit quiet at the minute. But Declan Rice is in a great position. Jude Bellingham just went for big money. Underneath Jude, you've got Rice, who everybody wants. He's won a trophy at West Ham. He'll leave on a high. I think there'll be a few in for Declan Rice, I do. And I think it will come down to the quality of player that people can offer. Because I think West Ham, it's all right having the money, but it's getting the players to come to West Ham. But if you can get Calvin Phillips and cash, or you can get Maguire and cash, maybe that works better for West Ham. I don't know. But Arsenal seem strong in for him. If Arsenal get him, I think he's great for Arsenal. I think Arsenal will probably offload Partey. Obviously, it's mad because he's had a good season, Partey, but there's obviously problems there that might come out and what have you. But if they can get rid of him and buy Rice, I think Rice is good. He's a good fit for a few teams. I think I can see him fitting in at City someplace. I can see him in there. I can see him at United. I can see him at Arsenal. But I think West Ham are in a great position and they're holding out for the best deal. Fair play.
Of course they are, and they must hold out for the best deal. And they have to think. West Ham have to think about themselves. Look, as fans, I think we over-egg the phrase loyalty. The only entity we should be loyal to is our football club. Players and managers, yes, you want an element of loyalty from them, but clubs are far more disloyal to players than players are to clubs, because most players want to stay at clubs when they're being sold. Most of the time, players want to stay rather than be released or let go. The amount of footballers every year that are made unemployed by clubs saying, "I'm not renewing your deal." Nobody says that's disloyal because they've been here 7 years. You should give them a new deal. You think about the progression of your club. So West Ham have to think about themselves 110%. And look, I do think that the story came out earlier on today in the Telegraph that United are going to do this. And I kind of scoffed at it a little bit. But now the ex-West Ham employee has said that this looks like it's true. There's some credence in it because he doesn't talk nonsense, this guy, when it comes to West Ham. He doesn't pretend to know much about other clubs and their business dealings. He only really talks about West Ham. He's got a very, very good track record. The problem that I've got, see, this is what I mean by Justin here. Says Terry forcing it. He's not going to United. Nobody has stated that he is going to United. What we're talking about is that Man United are going to bid. Only a weak man would be rattled by the news as opposed to the outcome of it. And my annoyance in this is more, I just don't think we'll get him. I could see it. Listen, I could see him playing for us. We've got a position for him. I think he would elevate Man United to another level. I think he'll do that to Arsenal. I think he's better than Thomas Partey. Going to your club, listen, Rodri's arguably the best DM in the world in most people's eyes. He's not going to play in that role over him, but I still see him being a massive upgrade on Calvin Phillips. I still see him having a brilliant role at your club. I just think Arsenal have done so much groundwork. I believe that Man United are probably more active in this now than they were a week ago. I think with Gundogan leaving City, you're probably going to up your game. But that is what's going to play into West Ham's hands, because then I think what Arsenal will do is go, look, there's the 100 million plus whatever. Mate, I've read some reports say as high as 110 with all the add-ons. Once West Ham get that, they'll say bang. I think they'll accept Arsenal's because the players sold on Arsenal's. The only way I see him coming to United or City is if Arsenal just don't get it done and the player starts to think, are you as serious about me as these other two clubs who are now willing to get deals done with West Ham? That's the only hope I think. You've got more hope than Man United because you're Man City, champions of England, treble winners. I would say this to Man United fans. Don't get your hopes up in any capacity about getting Declan Rice, because if City are in for him and Arsenal, if he rejected both of you for us, I would be over the moon. But I'm not going to delude myself to sit there and think that's genuinely plausible right now. I just don't think it is, if you get where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, it's speculation at the minute. I know Arsenal have had a bid rejected. They definitely want him. Arsenal just seem to be messing around all the time. They need to just get things done. You know what I mean? These people must be leaking shit out there because they seem to be testing the water, and then bang, someone else comes in and nicks him. So Arsenal, if they want him, just need to go in there, pay the money and take him, because, you know, they were so close last year to winning that league. The fans won't accept anything less. If they miss out on transfer targets and they start the season poorly, there'll be a meltdown there. So if they want Rice, they need to go and get him.
No, I totally get that. I mean, there's from the same side though. Trouble Studio is an Arsenal fan, and he says, "But it'd be very stupid of United not to throw their hat into the Rice in for Rice." And I agree with that. The problem you have from fans are desperate to be a team that doesn't get rejected. So a lot of Man United fans will push back on this news and say it's nonsense because they don't want to be the loser in a transfer battle. Personally, I'm more embarrassed of my club not trying to sign stars than the bullshit PR that we didn't go in or we walked away from the deal. No, you walked away because you couldn't get him. You know, it's like me saying I turned down the opportunity to date Michelle Keegan. I didn't. Me not asking her isn't because I didn't want to. It's because I knew she'd say do one. You know what I'm saying? Like, I maybe it's a vulnerability amongst the younger generation, Steve. They can't handle the rejection. Me and you, we've been around long enough. Our clubs have been rejected by good players, bad players. We've been at the peak of our powers and not landed targets. We've been rubbish and not landed targets. It's just what happens. It's always kind of been like water for the ducks back for me. So I want us to go in for him. A comment here from the Mad Hat says, is Rice really as good as he's hyped up to be? Recency bias of the season. What's your take on it? A lot of people do say that Declan Rice is overrated.
I think he's a good player. He's in a West Ham team there where, you know, they're never really top tier. I'd like to see him in midfield with elite players. He plays well for England all the time. You know, I think in midfield, even if in midfield with someone like Rodri, Kevin De Bruyne around him, you just don't know, do you? It's different. Different playing with them players week in, week out. And I think he's young enough to improve as well. So a manager like Pep or maybe Ten Hag or even Arteta, someone gets hold of him, new lease of life, new things. He's only known the West Ham way for so many years. He could come in there, open his eyes. He could become a superstar. Rodri, when he came to City, people looking at him first season was like, nah, he's not got it. He's not going to make it. But look at him now. He's unbelievable. So Declan's got it all, mate. That's why people are trying to spend 100 million on him. They're not daft.
Mate, that's absolutely it. There's too many top quality managers in for him to be completely overhyped. Now, being brilliant at his age at West Ham for England with two very negative managers, our lad, doesn't equal you're 100% going to kill it at the club you go to. We've all seen players, big hyped up players, not go to that next level when they've had the big opportunities. But I've got a lot of faith in this guy. I think he is one of the best midfielders in the Prem. I actually think he's one of the best in Europe, but he needs to be at a club like an Arsenal, United, or a City. He needs to be in that Champions League to prove it, if that makes sense. I believe he's that good. I believe he'll prove to be, but he needs to go out there and actually deliver. And that's why I think Man United got to try. Even if we put the bid in and he says no to us, to not be in, because this is it. Like, what is he, 24, 25? Unless he flops at Arsenal or whoever he goes next, this is your last chance of buying him in his peak years. If you don't try and get him now, you're never going to have him. And, that's not something I would personally like my club to kind of go around and, not do. But we'll see what happens with that. This here says Mount is staying at Chelsea because United will never agree to pay over 50 million for him. So what I'll say, speaking facts, is listen to what Ben Jacobs and a few other journalists said at the beginning of the negotiations. Man United didn't want to pay over 60 million, not 50. So we'll see what happens with that one and how it turns out. Terry Mad loving for Arsenal. I've said nothing about Arsenal on this show, so I don't really understand where you're coming from there, really. How did Terry conclude Rice is better than Partey? I mean, look, my view is even if Partey stays at Arsenal, but by at some point over the course of this season, he will be playing in Partey's position and will be doing a better job. Now, his word isn't the complete gospel, but the fact that Arteta and Arsenal are going to sell Partey and buy Declan Rice tells me that they also agree with me. So the whole Arsenal board, the whole Arsenal transfer team, the Arsenal manager all agree with my assessment that he is better than Thomas Partey. I think he is better on the ball. I think he's got better availability. He's a better leader. He's a better captain. And I think he's more consistent as a football player. I also don't think Declan Rice is going to let you down in the big games, which invariably over the last 3 seasons, Thomas Partey has done. And a lot of the times he wasn't even available for the big games. The amount of big games he literally missed, like 1-game injuries and things like that. Now, I'm not saying he wasn't injured in those games, but it was a little convenient. It was nearly always the big ones. So, yeah, that's how I conclude that, my friend. And there's a lot of big people in football that agree with me. If you think differently, tell me why he's not as good. Don't just say you're chatting nonsense or waffle. Give me a thorough answer and rebuttal to that. Again, saying lol and that don't make sense. Great. Break it down for me. See if you can, bedroom boys. I'm going to start using Steve's term, bedroom boys. I like that. So that's why I think that. Some weird comments coming in here. When they were saying Partey was better than Casemiro, yeah, but we knew he wasn't. And we knew he wasn't better than Rodri or Casemiro. And again, which clubs are keeping their players and which one are selling them on and replacing them? We all knew that. But there we go. David here says, afternoon, guys. Seems quiet again on the United takeover news. promising when nothing comes out, I think. Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, there was a report today coming out of newspapers in Nice, of all places, that Ratcliffe has lost, but nothing substantial yet. We needed to hurry up. The reports around Thursday last week said by the end of this week, there could be an announcement. So we'll give it a couple more days and we'll see, my friend. If Arsenal goes to United, we will smash City, is what Nelly James says.
Yeah, well, I've just seen some of Nelly James's comments there, so I'll take what Nelly says with a pinch of salt, to be honest.
Arsenal are going to go back in for Rice, but before you said, we'll touch on Rice now, actually, before we touch on Kai Havertz. You saying a little bit earlier, like Arsenal have got to kind of stop messing around and get this done. We know they've had 2 bids rejected already. The Arsenal fan base are kind of split. Some believe you should negotiate like that. You start low and you work your way up. Some are suggesting just buy him and get it done. Do you agree with that? They should just go out there, Arsenal, and go, boom, 100 million, get it done, get it over the line.
I just think they've got to do it. I think they've dilly-dallied that many times, Arsenal, over the years in transfers. People have come in, or situations have changed, other clubs have had to have a change of heart and gone in and just took the player. I think with the position Arsenal's been in, they can go to a player now and say, look, we're Champions League, we finished second in the league, we had a good run last year, we want you to be a part of it. I don't think they're ever going to be in a better position. So I think they should be taking these players. If they want them, go with the intent, be ruthless, get the deal over the line, get it done. I think a lot of agents start to throw other teams' names in the hats to creep it up. We know that City and United getting mentioned now, so you never know. But I don't know. I just don't know. I fear for Arsenal. If they don't get the targets that they're claiming they want, the fans are going to go mad, and you're going to end up with a meltdown. And Lee Gunn, you'll have to chain him to the fence or something and just calm him down.
Mate, he was so angry yesterday on the show, Lee, that I think he was forgetting things that he even said, if that made sense. Like 1 minute he was saying versatility is important. Then he was saying when Arsenal buy versatility, it's cost cutting. He said last week he doesn't want any player that's leaving City because he doesn't want Karstoff, doesn't want Gundogan, doesn't want Cancelo. But then said he wants Riyad Mahrez to start in his team over Saka. Now, 32-year-old Mahrez over Saka. He then said we should buy. He said they should buy Sergio Ramos to start and put Saliba on the bench.
Yeah, he's trolling, man. I think he's trolling. He's getting. I bet he rattled them all up to death with that.
Bruv, he's either trolling or he's been in that Spanish sun for too long, because
he's been on the Estrella all afternoon, hasn't he? That bar.
He must have been. Some of it yesterday was mind blowing. The next minute he's saying they shouldn't sell. He goes for about 5 months. He said there's got to be accountability, and players that let us down or are not good enough have got to be sold, no matter who they are. Then he's sitting there and saying, why are we selling Tierney? Why are we selling Partey? Why are we selling Xhaka? We've built a team that almost won and we're selling half the squad. I'm like, bro, you said you've got to be ruthless and get rid of these people. Then he tells me that after getting beat 7-0 by Liverpool, we should get rid of every player, even the ones that are good for us, because they let you down once. And I'm looking at Lee. He must be trolling, as you say. He must be trolling. It was just... he also said... thinking back, I want to get your take on this. I want to see your face. He said we shouldn't be giving Rashford a new deal. We should be buying a better player in his position. So I said, who's better on the left that we could go and get? That's attainable. He said, go and get Vinicius Jr. I couldn't believe it. Even you lot couldn't get Vinicius Jr. Like, no. Real Madrid just wouldn't do it. It's just, and you're the best in the world. I couldn't believe it. Leon, if you're watching, bro, honestly, I watched some of the show back last night. And I was in bits, and I was in the show, but I was still laughing. It was making me die. But I think you're right about Arsenal. That they've definitely got to do that. There's a super chat here that says, do you still think Arsenal are the favourites for Rice? Do you think they're the favourites still, Steve?
Well, it's looking that way. They've made the first move, so we know they're in contact with him. I think they need him a lot more than, I think City's got Rodri, and I think United's got Casemiro. City's now got Kovacic. So, yeah, I think we're doing all right. But, yeah, Arsenal need him, I think. But if City come in, I've just got a feeling if City come in and they want him, they won't mess around. They'll just take him.
Yeah, no, I listen, Mike, I don't know if you saw the TikTok I sent you last Friday. I did use a bit of your wording in there, and this is what Arsenal got to do. Listen, the two things that can be right at the same time. I think they were sensible to bid low and build up. You bid 100 million straight away, you're going to end up paying 120, 130. They had to do it. But now that City look like they're losing Gundogan, now that Man United are starting to offer players in cash that West Ham are interested in, because I think you're right. West Ham might look at it and go, if we could get 50 million plus Maguire and McTominay, that's 2 transfers we don't have to waste time trying to get. That's 2 people through the door. And then we can use the remaining 50 million to buy another midfielder to improve the squad. City is City. You've got the money, the prowess, the manager. You can turn heads. They have to just get out the water now. They've got to get out the water, take Rice, protect themselves and move on. They are the favourites right now, but you just don't want to answer your question, Pete, you just don't want to risk it. You can't risk losing out on him now because that would be catastrophic for you. And suddenly changes your summer. Another super chat here says Partey leaving. Arsenal might jump in for Caicedo, which is true because the reports are if he leaves, it's another additional midfielder aside from Rice. If Arsenal pull off Havertz, Rice, Timber, Lavia, and Caicedo, that would be incredible. I believe we might get one more attacker as well. How good do you feel like, based on the links, you've seen the Timber news? I mean, Kai Havertz has come in. Do you think Arsenal are having a good summer so far? Or, like, as a rival looking at them, are you thinking, oh, they're improving well there? Or is it a little bit more ambiguous than that?
Not signed anyone yet, have they? So it's all talk. They had a good summer last year for me with the Zinchenko, Jesus signing. That really was good for them, you know what I mean? And he proved it. But Havertz, I don't think anyone at City's shitting themselves over him. Timber, don't think anyone's asked. Romeo Lavia, we let him go. He's a good up-and-coming player, but to throw Romeo Lavia in the mix in a title challenge, you're going down the wrong avenue with that. Declan Rice is the one that makes a difference for me. That's why they got to get him. These other players, Havertz, Timber, Lavia, yeah, they fluffed the squad up a bit and they've got great potential, but Declan Rice is the big difference. When you get to that level where you've just missed out on a league, you need signings that are instantly going to make a difference, not signings that are going to maybe make a difference if they turn up or if they decide that they need a new lease of life. Declan Rice would be solid for them. I understand they do need backup players because there was light Arsenal last year. When they got to the business end, they were playing the young Polish kid, Kiwi or whatever he's called. So it's just, people got to relax. You can judge, we'll all judge the players at the end of the window or when the beginning of the season, Charity Shield, will look and say, right, yeah, Arsenal have done some great business or they're looking a bit light.
Yeah, I get that. I understand where you're coming from. I think it's interesting because Havertz is the anomaly in this, because I think that Rice and Havertz, with their age and their experience, are the players to come in and make an instant impact. But the problem with Havertz is that we all look at him as being quite meaty, middle of the road, hasn't done it at Chelsea. So there's this element of why him?
Where's he going to play though?
Mate, that's the big question here. And the super chat from Mike Delaney says, sorry if I missed it, your thoughts on him. I've seen 3 or 4 fan breakdowns from Gooners, and they all say something different from each other. Some have said left-hand side of the midfield. Some have said in the 8. Some have said it will be more as a kind of utility man in the attacking line. But I also think when you look at 65 million, that is not someone who's coming in to be rotation. That's somebody the manager has identified as a first-team starter for your team. It'll be the manager's biggest ever signing. It'll be the second biggest signing in Arsenal's history, maybe up until the Declan Rice deal. I've got a feeling he's going to play it's going to be an attacking role. I'm not too sure if it's going to be Xhaka's role exactly. I think and I don't know what this is because, again, I'm not going to pretend to be one of these tacticos that understands football like a FIFA qualified tactician and coach. But I think there might be a little bit of a just subtle change to the system and the style to kind of accommodate him. The Lavia news, if they bring Lavia in, they've got Declan Rice. I think those two will be the midfield that are holding the ball and feeding it into the attacking lines. And I think Havertz is going to be used far more advanced. But yes, it's such an interesting one, Havertz. I said it on the show earlier to answer your question, Mike. Personally, I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan. But at the same time, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by the deal because to part with 65 million for a manager, by the way, that every big signing he's had at Arsenal has been a relative success. There must be something about him that he's identified that he thinks he can unleash and make Arsenal better with. So, yeah, I'm really intrigued by this deal, mate, if I'm being honest with you. I'm not going to 100% write it off. I just can't. There's something in the back of my mind telling me not to do that. So, I don't know. Some people will laugh at it and say, I'm glad he's leaving. A lot of Chelsea fans. But this one might have a little sting in its tail for Chelsea if he goes and does very, very well at Arsenal.
No, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I can see it. I can see Declan Rice would be a big game changer for Arsenal. That's the one for me where they need to get that one over the line. That's what I said before. If other teams are sniffing, get in there, get it smashed out. You know, don't be dilly-dallying over bits and bobs here. Sometimes you just got to get out of your comfort zone and get it done.
Yeah, Rice is a massive game changer for them. He'll elevate them to another level, leadership-wise as well, because I know Odegaard's their captain, but another shout for you Arsenal fans, within 2 seasons, Declan Rice is your captain. He'll be your captain. I think he's that good a leader. In terms of Lavia, obviously, you know a lot about him, having been a City boy. Do you think he's got the ability to go into Arsenal and maybe not straight away, but over the next 2, 3, 4 years, become a real integral part of their team? Is he someone you would like to see City buy back and stop Arsenal from getting him?
Yeah, we've got a buyback in 2024. If Arsenal don't get him this season, then we can get him next. I think we've got option to match whoever's bid, and we've got a sell-on clause on him. I think Romeo's a great player. I think he does get injured a lot, but he just wasn't quite ready for us in a title race. This is the difference. We had to go out and get a Calvin Phillips who didn't work out, but we couldn't trust Romeo to be the backup to Rodri. But then it's mad how Arsenal now think, we can get Romeo Lavia in, and you know, he's definitely got to leave Southampton because obviously he's good enough to play in the Prem. But he'd be a great signing for the right money, but I don't think he's instantly going to change Arsenal. I think 2 or 3 years working behind a Declan Rice in a midfield, I think you've got a hell of a player on your hands, and that's why, you know, he could do the same with him at City. City should have really got him back and said, look, come and shadow Rodri and maybe Kovacic for another couple of years. But depends on Romeo if he wants to play. He might feel like going to Arsenal. He can get in there. He's a good player, man. He's a good player, but we're in a win-win with him. We're buying back. We've won. If we let him go Arsenal, we get 25% or whatever. We've done all right.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be an interesting one with him. I rate him a lot. He's almost one of those players that, again, I kind of want Man United to go in for him because our rivals are. But preferably, I'd have liked to have watched him for 1 more year. I'd love him to have stayed at just 1 more year to see what he's all about, as opposed to jumping straight into him. But yeah, it looks like Arsenal are leading that race right now. Ninos here. I hope you're well, bro. He says Arteta can buy whoever he likes, but no Premier League or Champions League trophy this season. He needs to go. The whole lot of them need to go. I understand that. Does context not matter? You finish second to City. City get 95 points. You get 94. Or you get to a Champions League final and narrowly get beat by a brilliant team. Would you want to undo all of that at the risk of maybe getting backwards with a new manager? Shouldn't it also depend on who's available that summer? I get where you're coming from. I think as a general rule, you're right, but you have to contextualize it, surely. If there's no better managers available and he's very close, you wouldn't want to just rock the apple cart and get rid of him. By the way, if you're just in a top 4 race and you don't challenge for the title and you go out in the quarterfinals of the Champions League, I get it. And I don't know about you, Steve. I feel like this Havertz deal is very risky for Arteta, because if he flops and Arsenal don't win anything, the knives will be out, won't they?
Well, listen, Gabriel Jesus came last season. First part of the season, they were all for him. Towards the end of the season, they were starting to say he's not good enough, and people were saying, he's not going to be that man. He's not going to fire us to the title. We need to get a 25-goal striker in this, that, and the other. So the Arsenal fans, they're very, they're not as forgiving. They're not as patient as they should be. And Havertz has had Chelsea fans. They've been like not really over the moon with him. So to get him to come to Arsenal, there's a lot of pressure on the kid. If he hits the ground running and he's a superstar, then all's forgotten and he'll be a hero at Arsenal. If he has a couple of stinky games and the knives will be out for him early doors, and that's just the way it is with him, because he came to the Premier League with a big reputation and he scored the winner in the Champions League final against us. But other than that, what's he done? You know what I mean? Let's have a look at him. What's he done? Nothing. So it is a risk, and you know, you got to trust your manager. He deserves that after what he did last season. Trust him. But I feel like he's on a very, very fine slate of ice this season, and I think the Arsenal fans, it's touch and go. They've got to win something next season. If they don't, then they'll be calling for his head. I'm telling you now, they will be.
I agree. With the Qataris coming, you should be afraid, Steve, is what little Tim says to you here.
Well, listen, you know, it's about time that our poor neighbours in Manchester got some money and fixed the roof and that, you know. So we know we welcome the challenge now. You know what I mean? European champions, treble winners, and you got a Carabao Cup and a bucket hat. So the Qataris need to pull a finger out.
You should be. They are a little bit scared. They're a little worried. On a real level, everyone would be worried if Man United got back. Man United become one of the best teams in the world.
The thing is, Terry, what you've got to realise is,
yeah,
Man United have spent more money than us. Yeah,
I agree. Yep,
they've spent 1.5 billion to try and win the Premier League without Fergie and not done it. So this argument about money and all that, yeah, Man City spent money, but it's been money well spent. Look at the club from top to bottom. Look at the infrastructure; it's all working. Man United have got a lot of money and spend a lot of money, but the infrastructure ain't working. So when people say you should be scared of the Qataris with the money, they already spend money. So I don't think anyone's bothered about the money. What the Qataris need to do is they need to bring the infrastructure in. They need to build the supply chain from the top all the way down to the bottom, and they need to bring footballing men in that can make footballing decisions, ruthless decisions, and get Man United to be in one of the most ruthless and best run clubs in the world. Because at the minute, they're a massive club. It's like having a massive ocean liner in the ocean, and it's just floating around and doesn't know where it's going. And then you've got smaller clubs who have got a great captain and they know where the destination is and they get there. United at the minute don't know where they're going. So what the Qataris will bring is a bit of stability. They'll bring infrastructure, they'll bring facilities, they'll improve everything. And it's not going to be a quick fix. If it's just a case of throwing money at it, then Chelsea would be up there. United would have won a Champions League now, 1.5 billion in. But United's model is not working. Whether Man United fans want to hear that or not, the model at the minute at Old Trafford doesn't work. These boys come in, the businessmen, they're ruthless, the oil people, they get shit done, and that's what they're going to bring to Man United. And it's the infrastructure that will get Man United where it is. It won't be the money thrown at mediocre players, because they can throw money at mediocre players for another 10 years and not win the Premier League like they've done. It's the take a step back. What do we need to do? Get Man United up there. Get football people in. We got directors of football in Tixi and Ferran. They were the best bits of business Manchester City ever did. Not the superstar signings, them two. And that's what Qatar need to do. Bring 2 or 3 in, connect all the dots, and then bang. That's when I'll be worried about Man United.
I couldn't agree with you more. And it's why whenever I'm complaining, it's why I want to go on TalkSport. I'll do it free of charge and ruin Simon Jordan, because all I ever hear him talk about is Man United fans are moaning, but they already spend money. So what's money the issue of? They get the wrong Man United representation on there that never go to town and school them. It's nothing to do with the money. Us having even more money will be an advantage, but not because of the money, but because I believe the Qataris will create a brilliant infrastructure, and that's the problem. There was a rival fan I quote tweeted earlier on today, and I think he thought he did something. I'm going to find the tweet again now, and it just goes back to this for a moment. And he turned around and said, obviously we're linked to it was all to do with Mason Mount. And he tweeted something, and he might have deleted his tweet, that's why I can't find it. Where's it gone? Okay, there it is. He said, Man United's biggest problem has never actually been their owners. It's the football people they employ. Yeah. Which is done by the owners, which is the thing. And it's that little nugget there is what is always missing when it comes to these conversations. I've sat there and listened to the biggest names in football discuss the club, barring Gary Neville. They never go into, yeah, but the manager did a bad job and the players they bought were poor. Yes, and who's signing off on all those decisions? It's the infrastructure that's created by the owner. So I completely agree with you there, mate. This here says City has spent 1.4 billion since the takeover in 2008. Yes, they have. Money well spent for them as well, I would say. Man United need to hire CR7 as a sporting director. I hear what you're saying there, my friend. This here says all good to see Big Steve. Assuming Chelsea trims the squad and gets Caicedo, a striker and goalkeeper, who do you see them? I think he means where do you see them next season? With all the outgoings and that, what they're doing.
They needed the outgoings. This is what I was saying before. Fair play to the Saudi Arabian League, who's decided they're having it, and they're taking everyone's deadwood, which we all thought was going to be hard to cut. So Todd might get away with it, but I think Chelsea can't be as bad as they was last season. Chelsea's got to regroup, solid pre-season, new manager. I wouldn't be able to tell you where they are. They're either going to come back and be really strong because of the players they've got. You can see they've got some great players, or it's going to be problems galore there again, and they end up floating around mid-table. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
I agree. I think Chelsea are doing. What do you make of the allegations from rivals that they're cheating? The Saudis have.
Well, listen, there's nobody gets accused of cheating more than me with Man City, but it's you know what I mean. Listen, it is what it is, man. It's football, isn't it? I don't know. We're football supporters. I've never seen as many lawyers, financial experts, and everything all over Twitter these last few weeks coming at me. 12-year-old kids, 15-year-old kids telling me about the charges and what this done and what's that done and that. And, when I was a kid growing up, we just stuck to football. Your player's shit. My players are shit. You're being better than my team. You beat us. That was the banter in my day. Now they're all law experts and pulling up pie charts and stuff like that. So it is what it is, mate. I don't know. Saudi Arabian leagues come in at a time where they're obviously they've got Ronaldo and they've got Benzema and they're trying to get the league good. They've got more money than anyone else. So they're coming over here and dragging players over there. Good luck to them at the end of the day. There's going to be teams that benefit greatly from it, greatly from it. It's all right calling the oil money, but when it's coming in your bank account for a player that you couldn't shift, then they're happy with it.
And this is the thing. 2 days ago, Arsenal fans are saying it's cheating. Now they're on their knees hoping they pay 40-50 million pounds for Partey because they can reinvest that money. Man United fans for years have called out the Abramoviches and the Sheikh Mansours and the PSGs. Now they're on the knees for Qatari owners. These are what take all the challenges around human rights and morality and fit and proper owners. Put all that aside. I was never going to be prepared to walk away from being a Man United fan. You never know who your new owner is going to be. So I've always kept my mouth shut about that stuff because we all end up being hypocrites in those circumstances. The amount of Newcastle fans over the years that I'd see moan about not even just money coming from the Middle East or oil money. They just moaned about teams having a monopoly. They were all celebrating and dancing suddenly when they had it. It's like when poor people moan about rich people. If that poor person suddenly wins the lottery or gets an inheritance payout or starts a business and starts earning money, most of the time, their mind suddenly changes about money because suddenly they've got it. It's all just nonsense, really. And I think people are just bitter that Chelsea have created this relationship. I wish that Man United had done it. I wish we had 3 or 4 relationships with Saudi clubs and we could sell 6 or 7 or 8 of our deadwood players, raise 250 million and go and buy Costa or Onana and Harry Kane and Declan Rice and be celebrating. It really is bitter. Monty here for you, Steve, says, hey, Steve, United fan here. Big congrats on the treble. You deserve it. We've been resting on that achievement for years. Now this can kick us up the arse.
Big up Monty there. See, a real fan, you know what I mean? Real fan.
I didn't give you any shit over it. I didn't congratulate you either. I was pretty bitter for about 3 or 4 days. And then you sent me pictures of you and the players, and I was like, "Oh, I'll say well done now. I'll say well done for fuck's sake. Like, I say well done now." If you think City United were to hijack the deal right now, how would that work for their current squad? Who who would you want? So say that again. If you think United and City and United were to hijack a deal right, if we could hijack any deal right now, who would you want to hijack? Who do you want to sign, Steve?
I don't know. I've got a feeling we need a wide player. I just think Riyadh might be tempted over to Saudi. I think we need somebody. I like the kid at Napoli, the Georgian kid whose name I'm not going to try and pronounce, Kovacic, what he's called. I like him. I think if we could get him in, I think he's young, exciting. I think under Pep Guardiola, I think he'd be great. So I'd go for him.
Yeah. For me, like Rice is like right up there. I want Onana or Costa at the club. Who's looking? Listen, he might be on his way to Real Madrid. I'd like to hijack Mbappe. Like, if we can hijack any deal I want, Mbappe. And yes, I would also, by the way, I'd sell Rashford to get Mbappe. I love Rashford, but he wants to play on the left-hand side. He's better than Rashford. Listen, I don't see it happening, but Rashford plus a bit of cash for Mbappe. It's crazy. Rashford's he ain't going to happen. He's signed a new deal, but yeah, that's what I would, again, in an ideal world, that's what I would do. But that's just a pipe dream. Afternoon, Terry, Stephen, everyone. Terry, is it true that Saudi Arabia offered Liverpool 40 million for Thiago? As a Liverpool fan, they should sell him. I haven't read that story anywhere personally, and I don't think they'd offer 40 million for a player like Thiago's age, injury prop things. They've just signed Koulibaly for what they're saying is 17 million, and he cost Chelsea just 37 million last year. So I don't see them dropping 40 million on him. They typically are aiming generally at players that are not wanted by clubs, generally, and offering them massive wages. But if they offer you anything for Thiago, they offer you 10 million, I'd take it because Thiago's a crock. You need to look beyond him personally, mate. But thank you for the super chat. This one's for Steve from Jamie. Where I think where would you rank Rodri in the Ballon d'Or?
Listen, Rodri's unbelievable, man. And that goal in the Champions League final, he's class. I mean, I'd love to see Haaland win it, to be honest, for what he's done, to come to the Premier League and do that, when people are writing him off. I know Messi won the World Cup, but Messi's got enough of them. Messi didn't really do an awful lot other than the World Cup. So for Haaland to win the treble, to score them goals, break them records, I think he'd do it. But Rodri's just, I can't, he's such a, quiet guy and just a model professional, just gets on with it. But he's such a beast and a presence about him. And yeah, we just need to keep Rodri at all costs. Let me tell you that.
Yeah, look, Rodri's in one of those positions. We had Michael Carrick at Man United for years, who I thought was underappreciated, underrecognized. Paul Scholes was a superstar, but because he was such a shy, the irony is, since he retired, he's done a lot of talking. But when he played, there was no publicity. He didn't have an agent. He wasn't ever. I don't remember seeing him at an event. And I sometimes feel the Ballon d'Or, yes, it's based on who the best footballer is, but I do think you have to be a very active public figure. Haaland's a great example. He's got a personality that everyone likes.
Yeah.
And I think being a good footballer, if Rodri had the season he had, but he had Jack Grealish is like it. Jack Grealish has got a personality which people find very intriguing. There's a bit of a Marmite to him because he drinks, and we know that there's a very weird bias against English people that drink alcohol. It's very strange. But mate, even the ones that don't drink alcohol get it. But it's almost like you need a bit. Beckham had a personality. Giggs had a personality. Rodri, and I mean it's another. I actually think that's one of Aguero's issues. Aguero, up until he did an interview with Martin Tyler when he was leaving, because I don't watch City TV, I hadn't ever heard him speak.
No.
I actually sit there, I don't know what he sounds like. So and that's partly like, I know his English wasn't particularly great, where Henry was a great footballer, but man was doing TV adverts in England, va-va-voom, and I think those little things help you win those big awards as well. Does that make sense? So yeah, Rodri's probably got no chance, even though he's arguably one of the, he's one of the best midfielders in the world. Great super chat, my friend. If it's an agreement way to funnel cash by fake high prices, it's a problem. If it's fair buying and selling, no problem, but will not accuse without proof. Well, like Gary Neville's called it out and said it should be stopped while Chelsea's ownership structure is looked at. The Premier League are allowed to investigate their ownership structure. Do it then. And if you find something, call them out, ban them. But until there's any, there's, as far as I'm aware, other than PFI investing in Clear Lake, there's no other connection. But if you start digging, I wonder how many, I wonder if other investment firms that own parts of football clubs have other owners invested in it through. You probably find the billionaires are all connected to each other in one way, shape, or form through investments and business dealings. So you end up sitting in a world where, well, how deep do you take that? And some of these things are quite complicated. This here says, yes, Cavadonna, they call him. I'm not going to try and pronounce it because my dyslexic brain won't let me, but thank you. Will this Saudi money blow over like China did?
Maybe.
It might, but the Saudis have, I was reading, I think it's Dubai, but that region of the world, it might be Saudi as well. They have billionaires there that spend like half a billion a month just making it rain because they like rain. They've got like these things that can make it rain and they spend money on it because it's like, what else do I spend my money on? Like these individuals, I just have to say this in the right way. The owner, the outright owner of Newcastle, the main guy, is worth something like 900 billion. So that's one guy. And there's like 20, 30, 40 of these people. So yeah, it might run out. It might not. It all depends, my friend. It all depends. Steve, if Gundogan leaves, do you think you get Rice?
I think Gundogan's definitely leaving. I think Kovacic is coming in. I don't know if we're throwing our hat in the ring for Rice. We'll see. I'd like Declan Rice, of course I would, but we're calm over here. We trust our manager. We don't panic. We trust Caldoon. He's done his interview this week. He's told us what's happening, where we're going, what we need to do, and we're cool with it. So if we get Rice, we get Rice. If we don't, we don't. But we'll be all right. Don't worry.
Yeah. No, listen. Yeah, I think you guys will replace him, as sad as it is. And yes, it's called cloud seeding. I'm not talking about conspiracies about making it rain. It's called cloud seeding, and it says here that, and therefore, the plants alone would cost over 850 million. I read about this in a reputable newspaper, and yeah, it's not a conspiracy theory. But again, if you've got like 800 billion, 800 million's not a lot. It is a lot of money, but they're re-earning their money too. Then it's not like they've got a pot of money. If it runs out, it runs out. Like they earn money. They sell oil. The world's still using. Well, if Greta Thunberg has her way, maybe it'll change. But end of the day, oil is still going to be sold. So yeah, man, it's a thing. Yeah, it is what it is. This here says, how many more seasons can City rely on KDB?
I think he's getting to the back end of it now. We've seen this season he's had a few injury knocks and games where he's been off it. I think we'll be definitely in the process of getting a replacement, but you might have seen a replacement in Phil Foden. Last few games of last season, started to play central. So I think City see him in that middle. So this might be the season where Phil Foden shadows Kevin De Bruyne in that middle. And yeah, Kev's getting old, unfortunately, but we'll see. I think Foden's the man to take his place.
Yeah, it's not a bad replacement. The way what he did in that turn. I mean, if he'd have scored the goal, it would have been one of the best Champions League final goals, from an English player from an English team. The turn was amazing. Appreciate greatness. What does OMW? Does it mean something? I mean, it might do. ONW meaning on my way. I don't know. Does anyone know what it means? What does it mean on social media? On my way? Maybe I'm dumb. But yes, he says appreciate. Congrats to Man City. Anyway, thank you, my guy. I appreciate what you mean. Thank you. And Luke Skywalker here says smash the like button, people. Absolutely. Twisted here with a question says, Terry, what makes a sportsman lose motivation? Money, age, injury, success, fulfillment, content. Loads of things. Loads of stuff. Like when me and Steve were younger, we'd have gone to the gym more, we kept ourselves in shape more. But once you're married up, got kids, you don't worry as much. You know what I mean? When you're not out on a Friday night looking be your future wife. You don't, you know what I mean? You get content. So loads of things change. What gets about this football fan? They complain about City's oil money, but they drive big cars, heat their home oils from the Middle East countries. Yeah, and all. By the way, they're all hoping that Saudi Arabia, where does the money come from, come in and buy their dead wood. That's where the hypocrisy comes. Gooners the other day quote tweeting when it looked like United might be getting Qatari owners. We shouldn't be allowing oil money into English football. Your stadium's called the Emirates.
Yep.
It's just crazy. Stop the hypocrisy now. Listen, Steve, always a pleasure to speak to you, my friend. I'm sure we'll do it again next week with more updates. Maybe then some more done deals to kind of go into and get your views and opinions on. Viewers, make sure like buttons are hit before you leave. Always a pleasure to speak to you all. Oh, there's another super chat just coming actually that says Saudis want to do in football what they did in golf. Yeah, they've done a very good job there, I hear. I don't follow golf, but they've done a very good job over there. And look, I can't speak for every country in that region because I've not been there, but you know, Qatar and what they're building there. I spent a time out there during the World Cup. I can understand why they want to. I can understand why they want somebody from their nation to own Man United, because how they're trying to grow their own nation and things within it. So it makes a lot of sense, my friend. Listen, everyone who's tuned in, a big thank you to all of you. Hang on, this here says official here says Terry, bro, I've been waiting to become a member now for so long. Been a fan for 9 months. Just want to know, would you ever bring Robbie on the terrace to talk to Lee? Probably not. I don't think. Listen, I'm going to speak candidly here. I don't think Don Robbie would want to sit and speak to Lee after the things Lee said about AFTV. I don't think Lee would want to sit and speak to Robbie because of how he feels about him and AFTV. I get on very well with both of them, so I wouldn't want to start a bigger situation than it really needs to be. I definitely have Robbie back on the terrace again. Top guy. I've always got on with him. Not a bad word to say about him personally, but I respect that Lee does. Lee has a different feeling, and I let them two get on with it. I don't get involved in other people's business like that. But yes, I appreciate you becoming a member as well, my friend. Thank you very, very much indeed. Viewers, thank you all. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And me and Steve will see you again same time next week. Take care. Bye-bye.